Good evening, everybody. You are listening to the Trifecta, where UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids collide. I am your host, Katie Paige, coming to you from behind Pikes Peak in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Colorado. And I am so excited tonight. I have Tom and Sally Miller out of Trinidad, Colorado, and we got to know each other because of the History Channel's Beyond Skinwalker. And I've known about Tom and Sally and the animal mutilations that they've had out there for many years, and finally got the chance to meet them, this last summer. And they're just wonderful people, and I can't wait to talk to them about, cattle mutilations, high-strangeness, the hitchhiker phenomena, and so much more. I hope you all are doing well out there in the world and that your week has been filled with more wonder than worry. It's a tough time out there for so many people. So keep your chin up and look for that light. And also, the holidays are coming up. And if you are looking for a way to support what we do here at Rocky Mountain Ranch Research, I hope you can check out our Patreon page at RMRR or visit our Rocky Mountain Ranch Research store at rockymountainranchresearch.org. All that really helps us out and helps us support what we do. In fact, we'll be heading out to the beautiful San Luis Valley this weekend for some investigation on some new locations. And we have a tour named Tom who's going to take us along and show us some of the hotspots. He's been an investigator out there since the 90s. So I'm looking forward to meeting Tom this weekend and being out in the valley. And hopefully I'll have some things to share for you guys next week. Hi, ho, ho, ho. Thanks for being here. So without further ado, I'd love to bring Tom and Sally Miller onto the show. Hi, guys. How are you doing this evening? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us again, Katie, to be with you. We enjoy seeing you, and it's been a while, but nice to be on your program. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved our visit together, and I was just joking with Tom and Sally before the show. There's a wonderful restaurant in Trinidad they turned us on to. I'm like, okay, every few months we're going to go out and have the dinner there and visit Tom and Sally, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to these high strangeness locations. And I guess for all the new listeners out there, maybe kind of fill us in about when you moved out to the ranch. How long have you had cattle and been ranchers, and when did the kind of, you first kind of notice the high strangeness, the mutilations? When did all that start for you guys?
The mutilations, it started, really, we don't know, but the first one we really seen was in 1996.
Wow. And
it was close to the house. And we had all our cattle there. And so there was one dead one right there. And so Sally and I both checked it out, and it was the strangest thing we ever seen. And so then after that, especially in the winter, we would always have them when we were feeding. We would count them every day. And if there was one missing, we would go until we find it. And we had a lot more mutilations than just natural deaths. So it was really strange, really strange.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sally.
I was just going to say, and to answer your question, Tom and his family moved on this ranch in 1946, but nobody bothered to look and see if a cow was missing. They just didn't pursue what might have been until we found the one that was close to the house.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you, have either of you, 1946, so it's sort of like, with the King family and the San Luis Valley, you're kind of generational ranchers. And in looking at like your younger years, Tom, and you too, Sally, were there other than the mutilations, did you have like paranormal types of activity in your lives, or other unusual kind of things happen to you when you were younger? Or did it just kind of start with the mutilations?
Seemed like it was more when the mutilations started, then things started going backwards and everything.
No, in our family, Katie, it was a little different. I have an elder sister who to this day can recollect that when she was 7 years old, she and my other sister, 2 years older, saw a craft, and they both claimed that they were abducted for a day. So it started way back in our family early. And on the ranch, prior to some of the mutilations, we would have some poltergeist activity. We could be sitting at watching television or at the dining room table, and frequently a knife would go flying through the room, or a dish, just unaccounted misbehavings. We did have somebody come out that wanted to do some paranormal investigations. He was an author, and they went through many of the old buildings out here, trying to locate ghostly activity, and they were recording it. And at the very end of this CD that they gave to us, there was this laughter, this ungodly laughter at the end of the CD that nobody knows where it came from.
Oh, that's creepy. That's creepy.
It's creepy.
Where did you and your sisters grow up? Was it in Colorado or somewhere else that these abductions may have taken place?
These were in the Walsenburg, Warfano County mining camps, just between Walsenburg and San Luis, near the Wahatoyas.
Okay. So within the Southern Colorado High-Strangeness triangle that we're learning, Southern Colorado is just, I'm going to pull this image up here, and I kind of want to talk to you. I mean, we have so many places we can go, but as far as the state of Colorado goes, and I know David Pilates talks about the aquifer connection, and certainly with the Rocky Mountain Ranch, the ranch sits where two aquifers come together, and there in the circle, you can see Trinidad is circled, and we have this large aquifer, but all in that whole Southern Colorado triangle there, we have, certain geological elements, and even in the San Luis Valley with the great sand dunes and crystals and granite. What do you guys feel? I mean, with the strange bridge, and we'll get to the mysterious bridge here in a little bit, but do you feel like there's something in the area of Trinidad itself that may be attracting these visitors from elsewhere?
I think it depends a lot, Katie, on the perspective. I have met and talked to many people over the years that have said as soon as they approach Trinidad, they can feel this dark cloud that is over the city. And on top of Simpson's Rest, there have been many groups, many churches, many paranormal investigators that go up there to do whatever they do to cleanse, if you will, the community. Because so many ranchers, so many people around here have experienced this for many decades.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I mean, in starting to cattle mutilations, to be quite frank, was something I kind of thought, let the other experts deal with the cattle mutilations, because it's a pretty heavy topic, right? There's so much to it, whether it's military. And have you guys, so right where you are, basically, the Pinyon Canyon expansion parcel. So down here's Trinidad. And I mean, I was unaware. I mean, look at that. The whole, what is that? Southeast corner of the state of Colorado. It's like owned by, is it the Army?
The Army.
The Army. So did you guys ever feel that the Army and the proximity to the Pinyon Canyons had anything to do with the mutilations that were occurring, or any of the other activity that you experienced?
Do you want to address that? The military has their hundreds of thousands of acres, and they have their own cattle.
Oh.
So why would they want to stir up the community by mutilating an adjoining neighbor's cattle? We never felt that the military was involved with it.
Yeah. Did you, Tom, did you ever see like orbs of light or helicopters or anything like that around the time of any of the mutilations? And how many mutilated cattle have you had through the years?
So far that we know of, we've had 16.
Wow.
And there could have been more when they were out in our big pasture. because we didn't check them that often, and then we'd just bring them in the fall, and we'd count them, and then we would go out there, and sometimes we would find a dead one or two, but by that time it was hard to tell if it was mutilated or not.
Do you want to address the orbs?
Oh yeah. And then well, like one night I woke up and I turned over and faced the window, and there were two big red orbs on the window. They were about like 8 inches in diameter. And as soon as round and real bright red. And as soon as I turned towards them, then they took off. And of course I thought, well, maybe I'm dreaming or something, you know. And so I just laid there for a little bit. And then the bed started vibrating, just shaking and shaking. And it shook for a few minutes, and then it stopped. And by that time, I knew I wasn't dreaming. And then pretty soon it started again. It was just shaking, just vibrating. And then in a little while, it stopped. And that was the end of that. But then in the morning, I couldn't walk. I had to have Sally take me to a doctor. And of course, he asked what happened. What happened? So I couldn't walk. And of course, I started to tell him, and then I seen his eyes roll up, you know.
Right.
So I said, well, I must have bumped it or something. But he started punching my my hip, and he finally found a real sore spot. And I told him it's real sore there, and he gave me a steroid shot. And by the next morning, it was like nothing ever happened.
Wow,
So
you didn't experience any missing time that you're aware of it or anything like that, did you, Tom?
No, not really. I didn't, but
Okay.
it was just, you know, that strange thing that happened there. And it was,
Yeah. Was that at a time that any of the mutilations were occurring within a few months, or was it active then, or was it just kind of a one-off?
no, it was pretty active. Things
Okay.
were, we had a mutilation a little before it probably, and then a little after it. So I think it's all tied together some kind of way. I don't know how, but some kind of way.
It's interesting that you say, Tom, that they were red orbs. I just recently, on the Rocky Mountain Ranch Research YouTube channel, I did an interview, and I just posted it with Chris from the Scottish Paranormal podcast. So he's out there in Scotland, and I asked him, like, do you have the animal mutilations there? And yes, they do. And he's in a very active area there in Scotland. And he mentioned seeing and witnessing a red light or a red orb, smaller. And I also witnessed the same red light behind the ranch house at Rocky Mountain Ranch. Have you guys ever thought about the connections between orbs and the mutilations?
Directly, I don't think so. We have had mysterious lights that have been seen, but they're white lights and they're moving lights, sometimes after or before the mutilations, but the red orbs were pretty much contained to Tom's incident.
Wow. Gosh, it makes you really wonder though, like, you hear people talk about Bigfoot and UFOs being connected, and, the orbs and the mutilations being connected, and even these strange boxes. But it really just makes me wonder. And we're always looking for clues in that regard. Somebody asked earlier, I'm sorry, I didn't see who it was, but in the comments, somebody asked why the military have cattle. Why do they have cattle at all? Do you know?
Well, I imagine that they have to keep a certain amount of the land grazed. When they have over 500,000 acres, it makes sense that they would control a lot of that land to keep it down and just to protect it from fires and various things like that. And not to mention how many thousands of men and women go through there.
Right. No, that would make sense to me. And I wonder if they experience mutilations. And that's my next question. And to both of you, have you noticed that certain ranches get hit more than others? And have there been ranchers that just don't get touched? And if that's true, why might that be? I mean, what are your theories on that? Or do all ranchers eventually experience an animal mutilation at some point or another?
I think there's a lot of difference. Like we had those 16, and then every now and then you hear of a rancher has one or something, but never that many. And also another thing with these mutilations, we would have that Chuck Zawoski and some guys come out and check them, and they had all kind of instruments and everything, and most always there's a high degree of radiation around that animal, and they'd get close to the animal, and it would be real high, and they'd back away a little ways, nothing, go back to the animal, and so that was kind of strange too.
Yeah.
I would add, Katie, that there is another rancher who lives probably an hour's west of where we are. And Mike, I'm going to just call him Mike right now. Mike would have a mutilation, and maybe the next day we would have one. Or if we would have one, the next day they would have one. And so I don't know if they've had as many as we have, but it was pretty consistent. And when people would come to investigate, they would say, do you know this? And do you know that they had one? And so that went on for quite a while. I've not heard, I know they sold a lot of their cattle. They wanted to move, but they didn't. But yes, every time we had one, they had one. If they had one, then we would have one.
That's so wild. It's like there's some sort of interconnection right there. Wow, that's really, really interesting. Real quick reminder too, if you have questions for Tom and Sally, please put your questions in upper caps so that way we're alerted and we can get your questions out to them. Something I'm really curious about when it comes to the animal mutilations. First of all, if both of you can kind of address what a typical animal mutilation consists of, because there are some telltale signs that really define what a clear classic case of a mutilation is. But secondly, I'm curious, like you guys had two that were mutilated or were together, and if you can kind of share that story as well.
Yeah, that was one was completely mutilated. It was laying right there, and the other one was still alive, but it had its back broke.
Ooh.
And there was a couple theories. Somehow they raise these things up and do what they do to drop them down. So it's possible they dropped this mutilated one and then dropped it down and it landed on this other cow.
Ooh.
Or the other theory was they were so close together, and when they were raised up, they raised them both up, and then as they got closer to the ship or whatever, one fell back down. So it's hard to tell what really happened.
So one had like the classic mutilation, and the other one had a broken back, like it was just dropped. Do you often see broken limbs or broken things as if they're being dropped from above on many of these lost cattle?
You asked for some of the characteristics of it,
Yeah.
and a cow has over probably 7 gallons of blood. And when one is mutilated, there is not a single drop of blood on the animal nor around it. And quite frequently around the cow itself is this circular 10, 12 foot, no footprint dust circle around the cow. So when it's mutilated, they often core out through the anal area and all of the internal parts are removed. They will sometimes go through the shoulder, making a cavity, and again, remove everything. The tongue is always removed. One ear is removed. One eye is removed. And sometimes the hocks are removed from the animal. But there's no evidence of animal mutilation to it because an animal will tear the skin. This has all been laser cut, sent up to the university in Fort Collins, and have been verified that these are all laser cuts and cauterizations around all of these cavities in which these events have occurred.
Yeah. I'm going to put up some images here, and I'm going to throw up a little warning here. If the viewers are sensitive, now would be the time. We're going to show a few pictures of some of Tom and Sally's mutes that you shared with me when Tony and I came to visit you. And I'll just put them up there, and I'll let you guys kind of talk about what we're looking at right here. Are you able to see the image?
Yes. This is a broken femur, Tom?
Looks like, yeah.
And the bottom part of that is missing completely, but you can see that it is separated up near the top and only a part of that bone exists. Now you can tell there's a little roughness above where the cut is, but it is not a pulled, mutilated animal mutilation cut.
Right. Like in this case here.
This is the shoulder cut I was talking about, where they go in and all of the intestinal organs are removed. Again, you can see near the leg that it is a very smooth, seared cut. Mm-hmm. And if you were to get close enough to look through it, you would almost be able to see right through that cow. This is an anal cut.
Oh, that's an anal cut. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Look at I'm sorry for the graphic nature of these, but we can't talk about it. This one's kind of interesting. Tell us about this here.
You want to talk about the hawk, Tom?
Yeah, a few of them, that little hawk is just sheared off, and it's just so strange because even if it fell or something, that wouldn't come off. So that had to be, they took that off for some kind of reason. I'm not sure what, but
yeah. Wow. That's my next question. I mean, first of all, I mean, that is, the medically, they certainly do look medically messed with. Certainly you've had some theories through the years on what the heck they're taking from these cattle and why certain parts. I mean, do you guys have any theories on that, on what the heck they're doing with these soft tissue, the tongue and things like that?
We have no personal theories, although they have mentioned that there is only maybe 1 or 2 chromosomal differences between bovine blood and human blood, and also they can use bovine for transplants in some areas medically. So we don't know. We don't have any kind of a scientific biological background to prove any of that. But the fact that they have 7 gallons of blood and it's all gone is
significant. Yeah. Are there any signs that you notice in these animals before the mutilations occur? Do any of them act strange before or even after an event like this?
I don't think so much before, Katie. There have been times when after mutilation, they have been spooked and have stampeded, moved away. Sometimes they will not come back to the place where a cow has been mutilated. Some have theorized that this may be due to the radiation that's around that area. But they have a tendency to stay away from that area for a little bit.
Wow. That's interesting. Like they get a sense. I know I spoke with one rancher years ago, and they were saying, like, in the pastures where the mutilations were happening, the cattle act kind of calm almost, and they would all huddle together. And then in the adjoining pastures, they were like all freaked out. So that kind of mirrors that situation as well. Yeah, that's really, really fascinating. So, what is the status of the cattle situation now for you guys, the Millers?
Well, we sold all our cattle, and we're just leasing out the ranch, so um, we don't have to worry about that now. But uh, and this was one of the reasons we decided to get rid of them too, because uh, if you figured out how many we lost and how much money that involved, uh, we just decided, well, it's time to lease the place out and sell the cattle.
Yeah, that's really super sad, and I'm really sorry about all that. That's hard, and I'm curious, and I'm sure other listeners are curious as well. And I've talked to ranchers recently that these mutilations are occurring still, up here behind Pikes Peak, and that so much so that they don't report it anymore. And I'm curious, like, are you able to write off the loss on taxes? Do you get any reimbursement? Can you insure the animals? How does all that work?
You cannot insure them because there is no proof that the death is anything other than natural. So an insurance company will not insure it. But if you look at the lifespan, and we usually only kept our cattle for about 7 years. So if you have one cow and 7 calves, and just say in yesterday's market, that was worth $1,000 per animal per head, and you take 60, you're well over 100 grand in losses that are non-insurable.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy. And people like other ranchers in the area, is there kind of a unspoken, like, oh, these people have these things, mutilations occurring, or may have theories of, maybe paranormal type of things, and we don't? And is there any of that going on, or are ranchers pretty open about this phenomenon in general?
I think they're pretty open about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And you'll always have the skeptics, but I think more and more people are recognizing that there are well over 12,000 mutilations that have occurred on the 38th parallel all the way across the country that are unaccountable for. And so people start reading that and looking at that, and they wonder. But this whole area, as you mentioned earlier, starting way back with Skippy and to us and to Mike up the river and people in Aguilar and Walsenburg, they're inexplicable.
Yeah, right. Do you mind popping the question back up again here? I wanted to address that. Oh, the mysterious drones. That's right. Remember back a few years ago in Northeast Colorado there, they had all those mysterious drones. Have you guys had anything like that out on the southern end of Colorado, the mystery drones?
Not to my knowledge, we haven't. Now we have a lot of the helicopters and the nighttime trading and the flying, and we do have the nighttime humming, but I haven't seen any drones around here.
What do you chalk the humming up to?
There was one guy I talked to, and he lived a little east of us, and he worked in Trinidad. Of course, he worked at a liquor store. And so, he would come back at night around 12 o'clock. And as soon as he got to that bridge, he said he had seen lights, and he thought it was a car coming. And he said those lights just shot up in the air. And of course, the first time it happened, he said he thought he was maybe had a little too much to drink. So the next time he came back home, he didn't drink anything. And sure enough, here those lights were, it's like a car coming down the highway. And when he got close to that bridge, he said those lights just went up in the air. And he said it happened a few times after that. And he said he was not drinking, and so he couldn't explain it. But it's just strange.
Some strange lights out there at night. Yeah, those strange lights out there in those rural areas is something else. And I know so many people report these. And I have to say, after our visit with you guys, not too long after the Beyond Skinwalker episode, and they really feature the strange bridge, I had a gentleman reach out by the name of Vince. And you can see the interview I had with Vince on the Rocky Mountain Ranch YouTube channel, but he went to investigate the bridge or just check it out because he thought it was mysterious. And he's driving down, and let me throw up some of these pictures so we can start talking about this mysterious bridge. This is a straight road, right? This is not like curvy or whatever. And how many car accidents, Tom and Sally, have been reported here in this area of the bridge?
28 accidents, and this goes back to like 1952 with 16 fatalities.
Holy moly. And I know they did some testing. There's some weird electromagnetic features around this bridge that they were able to detect. And even when Tony and I visited and we left your ranch, we accidentally turned right instead of left and kind of went parallel to where the bridge is, but it's more treed over there. Mm-hmm. And both of us started getting headaches and feeling dizzy and just feeling off, like noticeably so. We're looking at each other going, okay, what's going on? And we made our way back around and then drove over to the bridge, and we flew the drone above the bridge and that. But can you talk a little bit about this area and the bridge and what kind of your experience was with Beyond Skinwalker and what we've learned about that bridge?
Well, I guess the last little episode we heard about, there was a woman, and she was parked. There's a wide space before you get to the bridge, and so she was parked off to the side and checking her phone or something. And there was a car coming from the other direction. And she said that her car moved sideways. It just went sideways towards the other one. And she said there was barely enough room for that other car to get by. Otherwise, it would have been a wreck. And she has no idea how that could happen. So that was just the last that we heard.
Right. That Vince that reached out to me after your episode there, he went out to investigate and his car was hit. I believe it was 7 different birds. So he's driving down that straightaway, and it wasn't like a flock of birds. It was like a bird hit his truck, another bird hit his truck, another bird, like really freaked him out. Have you guys ever experienced anything like that? It was just wild. And he had the pictures. I mean, he had bird feathers in his grill and on his windshield and all this stuff. And he actually felt like he had kind of like an out-of-body experience where he was almost like in a time kind of thing looking over the bridge, kind of that kind of sensation. And I know Tony and I can, say that like when we were back in that treed area there to the right of your property, it did feel differently. Have you noticed any of that as well in certain areas?
There are a lot of differences between the east and the west side. And on the west side of the bridge, there have been many people have commented about the lights that come from without the river. So when Skinwalker was filming, they pretty much concluded that this could have been a portal. And of course, they did all of the electronic studies. And in fact, when they were doing they were able to film some unidentified objects in the sky over the bridge on that side of the bridge. And then underneath the bridge on the east side, of course, there were anomalies that went way down into the ground that they were unexplained. They couldn't figure all of that out. So it depends. We had an insurance agent who was driving out to see us. He called us and said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Waited and waited and waited. And an hour later, he finally called and he said, I saw some lights. And he said, I am in Lahana. I have no idea how I lost an hour, and I have no idea how I got here.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Holy moly. How long ago was that?
That was probably, 3 years ago, maybe.
Something like
right
that.
in the midst of all of the activity.
Wow. Didn't Beyond Skinwalker, didn't they do like a Tesla coil experiment on the bridge? Like they closed traffic down. That was wild. And I'm trying to remember that episode, but I feel like they did catch some anomalies in the sky.
They did. And that episode was called the Purgatory Bridge.
Purgatory Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah. What a fascinating, I mean, it's horrific and it's scary. And I have to tell you, just standing on the side of the road there, and I mean, it's straight, just like that in both directions, as straight as an arrow, straight as can be, no curves, no blind spots, no nothing. But even when we put the drone up there, I didn't even like standing near it. I just got this uneasy, like at any moment a car could just, like what you just said, Tom, like just energy just takes over and all of a sudden you're out of control. So yeah, it's something to be aware of. If you're ever out in that area, please. I wonder if they've ever thought about like lowering the speed limit, although I guess it wouldn't, I mean, it's such a straightaway and there's nothing out there. So people like to cruise down that road pretty fast.
Well, they do it. We've even had the highway patrol, state highway, come down and they have sat on that bridge and they've done their measurements and they've said there is no physiological way that these accidents could occur head on, and most of them are on the east side of the bridge, not the west side of the bridge. So an activity is on one side and they're stumped. We're stumped.
Yeah, man. They know David Morehouse and that did a remote view in Elbert County. They need to remote view your area as well, that Trinidad area. It's ripe with history and high strangeness. Let's kind of move into that area a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the hitchhiker phenomenon and how that's impacted both of you guys and what you've experienced in that regard, some of the more paranormal side of things, and if you feel that's connected to the mutilations.
And what kind of an example is the hitchhikers are you referring to?
Well, it's kind of like more paranormal. Like, do you feel like your house is haunted? Do you ever experience any paranormal type of things like that? And if so, do you connect it to the animal mutilations and the high strangeness, or do you separate them and think they're two different things?
I separate them as to two different things. And I don't know if you saw on some of the Skinwalker episodes that we've had that it seems like I can kind of communicate in some way with the energy, and I could have lights on, and when they were all here I could almost control the lights and the flickering and the talking. Their cameras would quit working, all of the batteries went dead. It was very high strangeness, so I don't feel frightened by any of that. I actually feel somewhat protected by it, as though there were two entities going on between the mutilations and the communication that exists around here. When Taylor was here, there was one side of the house that they couldn't even measure a gravity point, where 0.9 is usual gravity, but Travis was unable to get any kind of a reading. So much around the house within, maybe 40, 50 feet, all the way around the house, according to Travis, has some kind of mysterious energy that they had a difficult time.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I love that you said that, Sally, because you put it so well. And I've had a hard time explaining that kind of duality of oftentimes people feel like these animal mutilations or these ranches, high strangeness area, have this dark overtone. And although the loss of animals is dark and mysterious and it's not good, but the flip side of that is some of it does feel protective. And it's interesting that you mentioned that there may be two things going on, because in the early reports of Rocky Mountain Ranch in the 70s, they were saying they were two types of entities and they were in conflict with one another. So if you have that going on there as well, which, pretty high likely chance that it's the same type of phenomena for sure, but possibly the same interaction with whatever we're interacting with here, whether it's spiritual ETs or what, we don't have the answers to that, but that maybe there is a protective nature to it. And maybe that's what some of these ghostly things, like somebody's kind of watching over or keeping things at bay while this other these other people are doing this to the animals. So I've never looked at it that way. And I that makes a lot of sense to me, because I feel protected sometimes as well. And you mentioned the battery drains, and I love the episode with you guys. I think it's season 1. And Dave Carr is there. He actually chimes in on the episode because your kitchen lights kind of go a little wonky, like during filming. And having worked with those guys, I know what that feels like, because they have cameras rolling for quite some time. So to have something just kind of randomly pop up like that was kind of really cool.
It was cool. So, then he would say, "Can you talk to them? Can you make it do it again?" And it would happen, you know?
Yeah. So Stargazer asked, did the phenomenon that you experienced start with the mutilations, or were you noticing things first? So kind of, did they coincide, the paranormal haunting kind of things? I don't know if you've ever heard, like sometimes you'll hear like music or voices or talking or things like that. Did that kind of happen along with the mutilations, or different times?
At different times.
There was one time, and this was all when everything was happening. I got up in the middle of the night and was going to walk to the restroom, and this voice asked me, "Where are you going?" Not a clue, and it was like a man's voice, but it was real plain, and it just shook me up. But there was no one there. You know, I looked around, and just one of those strange things that happened. And,
and we've gotten up sometimes, or I have anyway, and I want to say, would you please turn off the television? No, he's nowhere around, you know.
No television was on. You just hear like
Yeah, you could hear it. You could almost hear the dialogue. Sometimes you could make out a few words, but other times it was you couldn't understand what was being said. Yeah.
So I bet you had a hard time, Tom, going back to sleep after that. Where are you going? Going to the bathroom. That's pretty scary.
Just to answer, you know, going to the bathroom, you know, and then it hit me. Who is asking this, or what is going on?
Why are you watching me right now? In my private moments. Oh my goodness. Let's talk a little bit. I mean, you mentioned you having to go to the hospital and you had trouble walking after your 2 red light orb incidents. Has there been any other kind of like health effects or headaches or anything like that you noticed during the times when the mutilations were higher?
You suffered for a while with headaches after the orb incident, and a few times when his balance was way off and he had fallen a few times. But that seemed to clear up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, and maybe it was connected to that, and maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Right. But things like that did happen after we had some of these episodes. So anyway.
Yeah. So apart from the lights flickering, any other things move in the house? Any other like poltergeist activity happening there? I mean, you mentioned the knives. That's pretty, like knives flying is, you don't, and shadow people too. That's a great comment, Stargazer. I wonder about the shadow people as well. Can you talk about those 2 things?
Tom, have you experienced shadow people?
What's that again?
Shadow people. Have you experienced shadow people?
Maybe I sense that someone is there or something, or it seems like it, but there isn't. But, you know, I just don't know. It's
is it, Tom, is it like a sense of being watched that you have?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And you just have that feeling, you know, but you don't see no one, but maybe it's all tied to this stuff. I don't know.
And there have been times in the house, whether it was day or night, I could walk through the house and just through the peripheral see a almost human sized shadow, kind of gray, not real dark, not real black, but I could see it moving along with me. Or I could sit sometimes and just watch something go across where you remember our family room there. I could walk all the way across the family room into the kitchen. And it's just a gray shadow-like figure. Probably not unusual, but when I drive, I see a lot of shadow people.
Oh, interesting. Like outside the vehicle?
Yeah, outside the vehicle, and it's like my lights pick them up, and sometimes I have to slow down and stop because I feel like I would run over them, and they just kind of run across the road.
Whoa. Holy smokes.
And that's to me really bizarre.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And I wonder too, Sally, you mentioned your sisters and yourself possibly having experiences younger in the strange, mysterious Southern Colorado triangle of this whole strange area. But that kind of leads into, the family ties or the generational connections to some of these high strange activities. And I know something that we talked about this last summer when we were there visiting, and how you're the ones who kind of notice this, and it's been eye-opening to me to really think about this, and I pay attention to it now and forevermore, thanks to Tom and Sally Miller, but how the mutilations almost target individuals more, or there's a, how did you guys put it? You guys put it better than I can.
I think there is a connection to the manner in which a rancher raises their cattle. Most of the people that have had cattle mutilations, including us, but many of the others that we have read about, do not do antibiotics. They do grass-fed, they do organic, they're not into vaccinations. It's a very pure way of raising cattle that are extremely good. And it seems to follow the rancher. So in our instance, since we've sold all of our cattle, our neighbor has not had an incident, but that doesn't mean anything. It just, research has shown that the quality of the rancher and the quality of the cattle are hit over and over again.
So are you saying that the cattle that tend to be more organically raised get hit more often or less often?
More often.
More often.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because I've heard it through, Chris O'Brien's work and Chuck Zukowski's work and others' work. I mean, there's been a couple theories. I think it was Linda. Don't quote me on this, people, if I'm wrong. Something about the blood and having a high rate, or there's copper in the blood, and maybe they're interested in that. But another theory was that they're taking the soft tissue, the tongue, the eyes, the ear, and certain organs to test, ground water or different diseases. And to me, if you're using antibiotics and grain and you're doing not so organically raising your cattle, that those would be the ones you would want to test more often because you're looking for what the antibiotics and things are doing to the animal. But it's as if the opposite is true, and they're mutilating animals that are more organically raised. And I don't know what that says about my theory. Then it kind of just wipes it out there.
I don't think it wipes it out. I think it's an additional reason, an additional cause. Yeah. If the chromosomic differences are minor and you can use bovine material, perhaps it could help another species. It could help other people. Maybe there's a health related core to why they would want something that's a little more pure. So we could have incidences from different sources that are looking for different answers, just as we do.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That is so interesting to me. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've never knew that before. I love that when we get to learn something new. Yeah. I kind of want to get a little personal here with both Tom and Sally and ask both of you how all of this has impacted your lives on a personal level.
Well, I'm sure it did change because, it's another thing to start thinking about. You're going along, everything's going okay, and then this thing starts happening. And boy, it just, if you can't figure it out, that even makes it more strange.
Yeah.
And but then you gotta keep going. You got to keep doing your work and stuff. And so it does affect you,
There's a lot of stress that's involved with it whenever you lose an animal or you lose a pair or you use more. You just have so much empathy for what the animal must have gone through, not to mention the financial loss of what it is, and with no answers. And it does interfere, not so much with your relationship as, well, you did this and you did that. It's just that you are relating to the loss. And if the loss continues, well, since 2016, for 10 years, you're losing 1.5 cows a year, which is significant. And it puts a lot of strain on the ranch, on the relationship, on the unanswerable. And then you run into the naysayers, or you get the loss.
What would you say to the naysayers if you had the opportunity to say, hey, look here, how do you deal with that?
I think everybody's entitled to their own belief. If they have not experienced it, if they have not seen it, if they have not submitted any medical evidence, if they have not had investigators, we know what we've experienced, and they're just coming from a belief system that, oh, there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
I just think it's ignorant.
Yeah. What advice would you have for other ranchers that are starting to experience some of these mutilations?
Boy, I don't know.
That they should call the investigators, the people that are looking at this. I don't recommend calling your local sheriff because they have no answers at all. But there are a lot of paranormal investigators that are really interested in this. And of course, with Travis Taylor and the Skinwalker and the Beyond Skinwalker and all of the people you and I know, I would start with saying, hey, come and look at this. Come and take photos. Don't wait, because after a few days, it starts to deteriorate and they lose a lot of the evidence, especially if the ground is contaminated or if the ground is radioactive. There are a lot of things that they can research and give you some hope, but no answers.
Yeah. What about veterinarians? How what's their take on things mostly? I mean,
the vets that we've dealt with it's all been prey. It's all been animal mutilated.
Oh. You would think they would know of all people. I mean, I can remember early on a witness of mine from Rama had a calf mutilated. I think I shared that story with you. The husband was on horseback, 4 incisions in a square, top of the fur was removed, goes back, gets my witness. They come back in the pickup truck and that calf was mutilated, like they interrupted a mutilation in progress. No marks around the animal other than what the horse had made, miles off the county road. They felt like they were being watched and monitored. But she sent me a picture of a calf that was attacked by, a coyote, and it's very different. And certainly a veterinarian would know the difference. And I can remember years back, and maybe you guys remember this as well, and this hour has flown by, we're almost out of time. But I remember years ago, I don't know if it was a concerted effort to kind of make the mutilation mystery go away, but they're saying, oh, there's nothing to any of these mutilations. The intestines or their stomachs are just exploding from like gas in the stomach or something like that. Do you remember something like that? Can you dispel that? Like, that can't be what's going on.
I don't know that we could dispel it, because there again, it's such a subjective opinion, and unless they have been there and have seen that, and I always take it back to the fact there's not a drop of blood anywhere near the site. Nothing on the animal, no blood on the animal. If an animal had attacked it, there would be blood around, there would be blood on the ground, there would be blood on the hide. There's nothing.
Right. And if it was something like something exploding and causing it doesn't remove the tongue or the eye, the ear, the rectum. Like, there's so many other things that go on with these classic animal mutilation cases that just doesn't explain the whole phenomenon. And so, oh man. Have you noticed like any connections with the seasons? Did you get more mutilations in the winter, fall, summer?
I don't know.
Calving time, there seemed to be a little more activity in calving. We had a lot in the winter. I don't know
Okay.
so much in the summertime.
Yeah, well, when we found those, when we fed, that was always in the winter time.
Mhm.
So it kind of looks like it was more active in the winter time.
Oh,
And
fascinating.
it's really hard to tell, I guess. But another thing that was strange, like one time I found a cow out there in a field that I was getting ready to plant it, and it was disc and real fine and everything. And just to walk across it, you sink in the ground quarter of an inch or something like that. There were no tracks around that. And when a cow, even if she dies naturally, she kicks her legs and
Right.
everything. And all of these cows that we see, they're completely dead when they hit the ground because they don't scratch the ground or anything. They're just laying there. And that is really strange. And
Yeah.
the only thing we can figure is they're killed way up there and they're dropped down. It was like one time there was one kind of under a tree and the branches were broke on top of her.
That's
So
interesting.
she went down through the tree. And, that just, it
And
don't happen.
you don't hear helicopters, or it's not like you're hearing copters pick these animals up and dropping them. So, I mean, out of the what you said, 16 that you lost, did they all show signs of being dropped from above, or most of them, or?
Many of them had broken hips, broken femurs, broken ribs. The one had the broken back, but they all had something that was broken, and it's very, very difficult to break a femur on a cow or break a calf.
Yeah.
But many of them had that in.
Right. Same with Snippy as well. His back right leg was clearly broken as if dropped from above. So same thing with that. And that's something to our listeners. This isn't just cattle, it's horse and other animals as well. And have you heard of any other like horse mutilations or that in the Trinidad area? Or people kind of open about what's going on?
He had a mutilated horse.
Yeah.
He did. And then somebody recently was saying that they had a mule and or a goat that was mutilated within the last this year of 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're still going on. And I'm so sad and sorry that you had to, you stopped your ranching business because of that. But yeah, it's a hard loss and it's a hard thing to deal with. So I certainly don't blame you. For the last couple minutes, so we only have a couple minutes left, can we just touch on, before we go, the cryptid side of things? Any cryptids in the Trinidad area?
I don't know that there are. There have been some speculation of those within the riverbanks. Some have said that, in fact, it was filmed on another channel about Bigfoot, the shapeshifter, those types of things.
Right.
All within the river.
Okay. And I wonder if around the bridge area too. I mean, there is a river that runs through there. Is that where you're talking about, in that woodsy
Yes.
area there? And that's
Yes.
really close to your ranch. So there could be a cryptid connection to some of these mutes. It's hard to say. Have you ever tried, made that like, oh, I wonder, have you guys had any Bigfoot activity on the ranch, footprints, knocks on the door, any things that you would chalk up to a Bigfoot encounter?
We've had several people have gone down there to camp so that they could see if they could film it. And we had a film crew out here a few months ago that came, and they had heard about the Bigfoot down there, and I don't know what channel it was or who the company was that came out and filmed. I haven't seen that episode, but yeah, they came out to see if they could find Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, all over Colorado. Yeah. Well, Tom and Sally, I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time and making the effort to come on here together and talk about this very interesting location in Colorado and the mystery of these animal mutilations that are, you know, it's been decades now, and I just feel like maybe we're a smidgen closer to understanding, but we're really far from having answers. And the mystery just keeps on continuing, you know. Oh, Chrissy Miller says, from one Miller to another, thank you both for your time. And you are welcome, Chrissy. Thank you for being here as well. And thank you for your great questions. Next week, who is on the Trifecta? Sev Talk, my good friend Sev Talk, and we'll be talking extraterrestrials and abduction cases. So be sure to tune in next Wednesday. And Tom and Sally, again, thank you so much. And I can't wait to come and visit you here in the next few months. We'll make that happen. Great. So everybody have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Wednesday night on the Trifecta. Good night, everybody.
Happy holiday. Thank you.
Happy holiday.
Thank you.